Alaska is one of the most isolated places in the world. There are entire regions where you can travel for hours, even days, without seeing another human being. No signal, no roads, no help. And if something happens out there, there's a very real chance no one will ever find you. But what if the real danger isn't the cold or the wilderness, but something else entirely? Something watching you, waiting, just beyond the edge of the trees. These are 3 true stories from people who went into Alaska thinking they were alone, and learned far too late that they weren't. The cabin that wasn't empty. My name is Daniel. I'm 28 years old, and at the time this happened, I was working remotely as a freelance graphic designer. I live in Seattle, but I'd been feeling burned out for months. Too much screen time, too much noise, too many people. So when a friend told me about a small cabin you could rent out in Alaska completely off-grid, surrounded by nothing but trees and snow, I thought it sounded perfect. Quiet, peaceful, exactly what I needed. The owner gave me a simple set of instructions. There was a generator out back, firewood stacked near the porch, and enough supplies inside to last a week. He mentioned something about the weather changing fast, but other than that, it seemed straightforward. When I arrived, it was already late afternoon. The sky had that pale, washed-out look that Alaska gets in winter, like the sun wasn't fully committed to being there. The cabin itself looked exactly like the pictures. Small, wooden, isolated. No other buildings in sight. No roads nearby. Just trees and silence. The kind of silence that feels heavy, like it's pressing in on you. Inside, everything seemed normal at first. A bed, a small kitchen, a table, a wood stove. There were even a few old books stacked in the corner. I remember laughing to myself, thinking this was exactly the kind of place people romanticize online. That first evening was peaceful. I made some instant noodles, sat by the window, and watched the snow fall. No phone, no internet, just me, and the sound of the wind brushing against the cabin walls. It felt good. At least it did at first. The next morning, I woke up to something small. Something easy to dismiss. The front door was slightly open. I was sure I had closed it the night before. I even remembered checking the lock twice. But there it was, just an inch or two ajar, letting in a thin line of cold air. I told myself it was probably the wind. Maybe the latch didn't catch properly. That made sense. Right still, I stepped outside to check. The snow around the cabin was smooth and untouched, except for my own footprints from the day before. No new tracks, no signs that anyone had been there. That should have made me feel better. It didn't. Over the next couple of days, little things started happening. I'd leave a mug on the table and find it in the sink. I'd stack a few logs by the stove, and later notice they were arranged differently. Subtle changes, easy to ignore, easy to explain away if you wanted to. But here's the thing. When you're completely alone in the middle of nowhere, you notice everything. Every sound, every shift, every tiny detail. And after a while, you start asking yourself a question you really don't want to ask. What's the worst thing that could be happening right now? On the third night, I decided I was just being paranoid. Cabin fever. That's what people call it, right? Being isolated messes with your head, makes you imagine things, so I tried to relax. I lit the stove, made some food, even opened one of the books to distract myself. But I couldn't focus. My eyes kept drifting toward the window. It was completely dark outside. No moon, no stars. Just black. And then, I saw something. At first I thought it was a trick of the light. a shadow moving between the trees. But then it happened again. A shape, too tall to be a bush, too still to be an animal. Just standing there, watching. I froze. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Because suddenly, all those little things didn't feel random anymore. The door, the mug, the logs. They weren't accidents. They were signs. I forced myself to look away just for a second to grab my flashlight. And when I looked back, it was gone. Completely gone. No movement. No sound. Nothing. I told myself it must have been nothing. It had to be nothing. But that night I didn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to every creak of the cabin, every gust of wind, every tiny sound. And sometime around 2 a.m., I heard it. Footsteps. Not outside. Inside. Slow. Careful. Like someone trying not to be heard. Each step deliberate. Controlled. Above me. The attic. I didn't even know there was an attic. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure whoever or whatever was up there could hear it. I wanted to move, to run, to get out of the cabin, but I couldn't. Because to leave, I'd have to open the door and step into the darkness, where I had already seen something watching me. The footsteps continued for what felt like forever. Back and forth, back and forth. Then, they stopped. Silence. Complete, crushing silence. And that's when I heard something else. A slow, deliberate creak, right above my head. Like someone was lowering their weight. Listening. Waiting. For me. I don't remember falling asleep. I don't think I ever really did. The next morning, I packed everything as fast as I could. I didn't care about the food. The supplies, none of it mattered anymore. I just needed to leave. As I stepped outside, I saw something that made my stomach drop. Footprints. Fresh ones. Not mine. They led from the tree line, straight to the cabin. And then, they didn't lead away. They stopped. Right at the front door. I didn't look back after that. I didn't check the attic. I didn't try to understand what had happened. Because deep down, I already knew the answer to the question I'd been trying to avoid. I was never alone in that cabin. Not even for a second. Something was following us in the snow. My name is Eric. I'm 31, and I grew up in Montana. I've been hunting most of my life, so when my friend Jake invited me to Alaska for a winter hunting trip, I didn't hesitate. We'd talked about it for years, doing something real. Something remote, something that actually felt like an adventure. We flew into a small town, then took a snowmobile out into the backcountry. No signal, no cabins nearby. Just miles of forest hills and snow that stretched farther than you could see. It was exactly what we wanted. The first day went smoothly. We tracked a few animals, set up camp, built a fire. Jake was in a good mood, joking around like always. He was the kind of guy who never took anything too seriously. That night, the temperature dropped hard. I remember waking up in the middle of the night because everything felt too quiet. No wind, no animals, nothing. Just this heavy, unnatural silence, pressing down on everything. I told myself it was normal, just the cold. The next morning, we started tracking again. That's when Jake noticed it. Footprints. At first, I thought they were ours, but they weren't. They were behind us, perfectly spaced, following the exact path we had taken the day before. Jake crouched down, studying them. "They're fresh," he said. That didn't make sense. It had snowed overnight. Not a lot, but enough to cover older tracks. So if these were fresh, that meant something had walked this path after us. I looked around. Trees, snow, nothing else. No sound, no movement. Probably a wolf, I said, even though I didn't believe it. Jake didn't answer. We kept moving. But here's the part that still doesn't make sense to me. The tracks never appeared in front of us, only behind. No matter how far we went, no matter how many times we stopped to check, they were always there trailing us, like something was staying just out of sight, watching, waiting. At one point, Jake stopped walking. "You hear that?" he asked. I listened. Nothing. "No," I said. He frowned. I thought I heard footsteps. I laughed a little. "That's us, man." But he shook his head. "No, behind us." I turned around. Nothing, just the tracks. And suddenly, I didn't feel like laughing anymore. We decided to head back early. Neither of us said it out loud, but we were both thinking the same thing. Something wasn't right. The walk back felt longer, heavier. Every step felt like we were being pulled backward, like the forest didn't want us to leave. About halfway back to camp, I realized Jake had gone quiet. Too quiet. "Jake," I said, turning around. He wasn't there. My stomach dropped. His tracks led straight behind me, then suddenly veered off into the trees. "Jake," I shouted. No response. I followed the tracks. They were uneven now, like he had been dragged or pulled. That's when I heard it. A sound. Low. Not quite an animal. Not quite human. Something in between. I froze. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to run, but I couldn't just leave him. "Jake!" I yelled again. Then out of nowhere, he stepped back onto the trail. Just walked out of the trees, like nothing had happened. I rushed over to him. "What the hell, man? Where did you go?" He looked at me, and for a second, I didn't recognize him. His face was the same, but his expression, it was wrong. Blank. Empty. I heard something he said slowly. "What? Calling me?" I felt a chill run down my spine. "What do you mean, calling you?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said something that still messes with me. It sounded like you. I didn't say anything. I just grabbed his arm. "We're leaving. Now." The rest of the walk back was silent, but I could feel it. Something behind us. Closer now. Closer than before. When we finally reached camp, I didn't even bother unpacking. I told Jake we were heading back first thing in the morning. He didn't argue. That night, neither of us slept, and sometime around 3 a.m., I heard it. My name. Whispered. From outside the tent. "Eric." I stopped breathing. Jake was awake too. I could tell. "Eric." The voice was wrong. Too stretched. Too slow. Like something trying to imitate a human, but not quite getting it right. Jake whispered, "That's not me." I knew. I didn't move. I didn't respond. Because something deep inside me understood one thing very clearly. If I answered that voice, whatever was out there would know I was listening. We left before sunrise, didn't pack properly, didn't look back. And as we rode away on the snowmobiles, I caught one last glimpse in the trees. A shape. Tall. Too tall. Standing perfectly still, watching us leave. I've hunted my entire life. But after that trip, I never went back. Because some things out there aren't animals. Story 3. The Last Radio Call. My name is Thomas. I'm 42 and I work as a maintenance technician for remote facilities. A few years ago, I was assigned to a small station in Alaska, about as far from civilization as you can get without being completely cut off. The job was simple: check equipment, maintain power systems, report any issues. I was supposed to be there alone for 5 days. No problem. I'd done it before. The station itself was small, just a few buildings, a generator, and a radio tower. No internet, no cell signal. The only way to communicate was through an old radio system. The first 2 days were uneventful, cold, quiet, boring, exactly what I expected. On the third night, I was sitting inside going over some maintenance logs when the radio crackled. At first, I ignored it. Static was common out there. But then, I heard something, a voice. Hello? I froze. Hello? The voice repeated. It sounded weak, distorted. I grabbed the radio. This is Station 12. Who is this? There was a pause. Then, please, help me. My chest tightened. What's your location? I asked. More static. I don't know. It's dark. The signal cut in and out. Stay on the line, I said. I'll get your coordinates. But when I checked the system, there was nothing. No incoming signal. No registered transmission. It was like the call wasn't coming from anywhere. Hello, I said again. He's still here. My grip tightened. Who is silence? Then the radio went dead. I sat there for a long time staring at it, trying to make sense of what I had just heard. Maybe it was interference. Some crossed signal from another station. That had to be it. Right. The next night it happened again. Same time. Same static. Same voice. You didn't come. A chill ran through me. I couldn't locate you, I said. Tell me where you are. The response came slowly. He won't let me leave. My heart was pounding now. Who won't let you leave? No answer, just breathing. Slow, uneven. Then, he knows your name. I felt something drop in my stomach. What? The radio crackled, and then clear as day. Thomas. I stood up so fast, I knocked the chair over. There was no way. No one out here knew me. No one should even be within range. Who is this? I demanded. Silence. Then the signal cut again. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound felt amplified. Every shadow felt wrong. The next morning I checked the logs. There had been a station nearby years ago, decommissioned after an accident. Multiple people reported missing. One confirmed dead. The rest, never found. That night I turned the radio off. Didn't want to hear it again. Didn't want to know. But around midnight, it turned on by itself. Static filled the room. And then, you can't ignore me. I backed away slowly. He's closer now. The voice was clearer than ever. Desperate. Terrified. He's coming to you. I didn't think. I grabbed my keys, my gear, and left the station. Didn't care about protocol. Didn't care about the job. I just drove. Hours later, when I finally reached another facility, I reported everything. They checked the system. There were no incoming signals, no transmissions, nothing. Officially, the calls never happened. But sometimes late at night, I still hear that voice in my head. You should have come. And the worst part, I don't think it was asking for help anymore. Alaska is a place that tests people. The cold, the distance, the silence, it strips everything down to the basics. Survival. Instinct, fear. But as you've just heard, sometimes the real danger isn't the environment. It's the things you can't explain. The things that don't follow the rules. The things that wait, just out of sight. These stories come from real experiences. Real people who walked into the wilderness thinking they understood it, only to realize how little they actually knew. So the next time you find yourself alone, truly alone, ask yourself one question. Are you sure you're the only one there? If you enjoyed these stories, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and consider sharing your own experience. You never know. Your story might be the next one we tell. Stay safe out there, because sometimes you're not as alone as you think.